This is Industrial Edge, a podcast where we discuss the cutting edge world of factory automation and the technologies shaping the future of the industry.
My name's Lacey Chandler. I'm sitting here with Adrian Diaz. We are at the 2024 Almond Board Conference in Sacramento, the Safe Credit Union Conference Center. Adrian, will you take a minute just to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do?
Yeah, so my name's Adrian Diaz. I'm a field technician for Chandler Automation, going on 2 years and a couple months. I think it's 2 years, 3 months. I basically service, install, and maintain all of our equipment from the robot side to the sorters, the OK International equipment. Also work with the technicians here to build their schedules, get them trained up on the different pieces of equipment. That way, when they get sent out for these tech visits, they know the scope of what they're there to do and who their contact is while on site, and just facilitate the transition from their old equipment that they used to have to the new equipment and make sure that they love it at the end of the day.
Can you explain the role of what a service technician is in this space? We have a lot of different realms, like you talked about sales and different types of equipment and different types of companies. But as far as service tech goes, what part do they play in the whole grand scheme of the process of these equipment pieces getting implemented into a new line?
I would say they play the biggest part because they're the boots in the ground. They're the people working with the equipment. So they have to know the equipment in and out. So when they're out installing it and the customer is asking them questions, they know exactly how to answer and give them the details exactly how they are. And they're very important as well because, like I said, since they are the boots in the ground, they're making those interactions with the customers, they're making those relationships. And if something bad happens, the customer is going to go with them and ask them like, hey, how come this piece of equipment isn't operating to what we quoted it for or what we purchased it for? So that's usually their first point of contact. So I'd say they have a pretty important role to within the company, basically. So it's very crucial and very important to have the technician well-rounded in knowledge in how to set up, how to maintain, and how to service every single piece of equipment, because it's not just one vendor we're working with. We have multiple, and sometimes it can get a little overwhelming with the amount of knowledge. But I feel like if we implement it in small increments, so work on one piece of equipment first and then start expanding, it helps both the technician to understand everything and get a good grasp of all the knowledge out there, and improve their confidence levels as well while they're out talking to a customer or plant manager or supervisor.
That sounds like a very dynamic job.
Yes, it is pretty complex, but with the right people, right mindset, and making sure you're there to back them up and offer them that support whenever they need it, I feel that's more than enough for them to be happy and be content with where they are and the company they're working for.
So it sounds like you need a lot of expertise in communication and also technical, which that's a very unusual talent to find in one person. So I imagine you have to be a really special type of human being to be a service technician, to be able to communicate effectively, not just for troubleshooting with a customer or dealing with issues, but to train someone, you need a lot of patience. But then to have the mechanical, technical aspect of your job, it sounds like a lot. Sounds like you know a lot.
It can be uh, quite a lot, but I think the main factor here is, like you mentioned, patience. Keeping in mind that it's not just your way, and you might learn a certain way, but not everybody learns that way. So understanding that and keeping that at the back of your head and having that patience, walking somebody through the steps as to why we do things a certain way and explaining it more than once if needed, because not everybody learns the same way, and finding a way to delegate certain things to certain technicians who aspire in one section, while you're building up the next one. Don't just unload everything on one technician and all right, have at it, figure it out, because that's where they can start struggling and feel like they're the ones at fault for maybe a piece of equipment not operating the way it is, and have all that stress build up and pretty soon be in an uncomfortable position. And it's just a matter of figuring out what talents they have and building on that and then slowly expanding. That way they're not put in that position and they're pretty comfortable throughout their technician role.
Amazing. Can you explain the steps as if you're talking to a customer that's never had automation and equipment installed in their facility before, or maybe not our type of equipment, what the steps are for that phase when their equipment arrives, all the way to when they're getting the results they're looking for?
It's pretty complex to
It is
begin with.
complex, but you know it. You have a lot to offer. So if you could just take the time with all of your patience that you just explained that you have to tell us the steps, that would be helpful.
Like everything, there has to be proper communication between the vendor that's supplying us with the equipment, having an estimated ship date, having estimated arrival date, and making sure there's communication between us, the company, and the customer. Transparency between the two, letting them know, hey, your equipment's coming in next week. It's going to be here between this time and this time. Make sure there's somebody there to unload it. If not, we'll be there to unload it. Because on the customer side of things, it's like when you order something off of Amazon, you're tracking it. You're trying to figure out when it's going to arrive, and it's something that you've been waiting for. You're going to adjust your schedule to be there to be able to receive it. So same thing goes for our customers, and having that communication with them, I feel they really appreciate it. And they're like, hey, well, we purchased this equipment from this company, and they're taking the time to let us know when it's going to arrive at our facility. So they're like, okay, I feel a little more safe working with them because I'm not just any customer. I'm being treated fair and kind of like family. Like they're bringing us in and keeping us involved and included. So I feel that's necessary in the beginning. And when we arrive, we'll, as the technicians, we have to decrate everything, inspect all of the equipment, make sure nothing was damaged. If it was damaged, make a report, send that over to the vendors, figure out if it was damaged during shipping or if something was overlooked on their side of things, get that resolved prior to the installation process. So after we've inspected everything, we'll go ahead, decrate, pull all the equipment out of the boxes, get a measurement of or a layout of the building, make sure everything's marked where it's supposed to be. If all of our equipment's there, start placing it, start staging things. That way, the next step is getting power and air dropped to all of our equipment. So next thing would be communicating with our communication guys, our comms for all of our photo eyes, the electrical schematics, making sure the appropriate voltage is dropped. That's where we kind of take a break, let them work on what they got to do, because if there's 10 people working in one area, you're going to be getting in the way. So we try to eliminate as much headache on everybody, because an installation it's pretty overwhelming with different amounts of vendors and contractors that are going in. So the customer can sometimes be a little nervous if something's going the right way or if it's going to go south. So it's important to also give them that peace of mind that they're in good hands. So making sure everything is as smooth for them, that goes smoothly for them is priority. And then once the electrical, air, and plumbing's all done, then we'll come back in. We'll start bumping all the motors, making sure everything's running fine, everything's set up the way it's supposed to be. Once we're at a point where we can mock production, we'll let the customer know. That's usually where the customer has an expectation of, hey, we're ready to run. We're going to start production at 100%. And we as the technicians have to tell them, hey, it's not going to be at 100%. We're going to slowly make our way there. We got to bump all the motors from the beginning of the line all the way to the end, make sure nothing's going to break. If we have that communication in the beginning, it makes things a lot smoother because everybody's on the same page instead of one being hey, we're ready to pack out by the end of today, and we're actually uh, in the beginning stages of things. After that, it's crucial to provide operator training. So working with the maintenance department, the operators, giving operator level training for the people that are going to be working with the equipment daily, and making sure they lose the intimidation of new equipment. Because when you get expensive piece of equipment, the last thing you want to do is be at fault for damaging a screen, breaking apart, and you have to make them comfortable with, let's say, the sorter, playing with the HMI, the screen, being able to know how to start it, how to stop it, what are the warnings to it, and giving them that knowledge. That way, when they go up and they're standing in front of it by themselves, they're not nervous. They're a little more, uh, how would I say it? They're more willing to get their hands on the equipment.
Well, you said something uh, interesting that typically the customer expects that once everything is in line and you're able to turn it on, that they expect it to just work at capacity virtually immediately. And it's not well known that it takes time to calibrate everything and program everything and do a beta testing on what's going on in the scene there. So if it isn't ready to run at capacity the first day, what is a realistic expectation about how long those things might take? I know there's variables depending on the equipment and the volume and all the other things going on. But what is a more realistic expectation if a customer is not sure about that?
I'd say anywhere between 3 days to a week, depending on the size of the line that we're installing and the amount of different machinery that are involved. Three days is a pretty good time frame. That gives us day one to go through, get everything in motion, making sure everything's going to be running the way it is, whether it's bucket elevators, conveyors, even the transitions, making sure that all of the conveyance systems working, that we're not missing any sprockets or motors wired up the wrong way and it's going backwards instead of forwards, things like that. Second day, it's more of a calibrating, making sure all of our images are coming out the way they're supposed to be. Everything's aligned, cameras are aligned, robot axes are aligned, they're mastered. We have all of the necessary suction cups connected, the appropriate air. One of the important parts for all of our pieces of equipment is that we have dry air. So making sure that our incoming air from the customer side compressor has an adequate dryer to provide us with that, because that's one of our pinch points where we have moisture coming into our equipment. Our filters are able to detect most of oil, debris, or any particles in the air, but moisture is our limiting factor. If it gets into our ejectors, it'll start having electrical failures because that water goes into the boards and basically fries them. And that's where we have those issues.
So what about after? So you get this equipment running, you do all the effort to get it there, to examine it, to program it, to set it up, educate the team, calm the nerves of everybody in the room, and it's working. Hooray. What happens after that? What's expected? That they're just going to have all the results that they want, or is there follow-up care to that? Do you find that the customer needs more support, or what's a typical expectation for the following days, weeks, and months after something like that is set up?
So if we're talking about like a sorter setup, the day we're out there programming, calibrating, and installing this machine for the sorter, we try to have all of the product that the customer is going to be running ready so we can test it that same day. Sometimes we can do that. Sometimes the customer, they only have one variety available. So we'll set up for that one variety. And we communicate to the customer like, hey, this machine is set up for this one program at the moment. We can go ahead and schedule another day to come back out and program the rest of your varieties. But just know that this one might work to an extent on your next variety, but that's not the final result. We have to come back and program for it. But because of the time, or whether it was mid harvest, mid production, that wasn't available for us that same day, we're gonna have to come back. Say we have all of our programs done. It's not a simple, hey, we're done, we're out of here. We'll come back in 2 years and check up on you. We communicate to them that we're gonna be here on standby any question you might have, your operators, any training you need, let us know. We'll come back out. We'll train you guys. We'll answer all those questions, as well as we'll stop in and make these courtesy visits to ensure. Sometimes the customers are so busy, so caught up with their daily tasks, they forget to pick up the phone and give us a call for an emergency they had. So we understand that, and we try to limit the strain of them having to go out of their way to reach out to us. So we go out and we inspect, talk to the operators, see what the operators are feeling and what they're doing with the equipment, where they need a little more help with, because sometimes they're afraid to reach out to their management to get more training or more hands-on training with the equipment and explanation of what the different buttons on the machines do. So that might not get relayed over to management, and that might not get relayed to us. So if we, the technicians, do these courtesy visits, we can ask the operators firsthand and then offer that to them there, which will improve their interaction with the equipment and overall improve the process for them on their daily work days, and maybe even improve their production for the company. So they're never left alone. There's always somebody there going back and keeping up with their daily activities and making sure they're okay, and they all their questions are asked are answered.
In your expertise, can you recommend a way that these customers can get the most out of their equipment, and the most functionality and the most longevity?
I would say for sure the number one would be proper maintenance of their equipment. So having daily inspections, weekly inspections on certain components. Um, like I mentioned, air is our pinch point at the moment, where moisture will go in through the lines and start damaging the internal pieces. So maybe having a daily inspection on the dryers, making sure they're working, draining the water collectors, and making sure that all of their plumbing system is up to date. There's no cracks somewhere, that maybe their airlines are insulated to help keep moisture out during the cold season. That would improve the longevity of the machines, and just taking care of the equipment as well. That can mean either, say you have a hose dragging on the floor, getting kicked around over time. It might wear down. It might have sun exposure, drying out certain components, whether it's like hoses or connectors, quick disconnects, stuff like that. Just keeping an eye on it, making sure that your maintenance team is well knowledge on all of the equipment and the critical components. And when they're out there on a daily basis, just take a quick glance, look at the equipment, look at the setup, see where the wires can be tucked away, maybe picked up off the ground, and maybe replaced. Or if they're too worn out, replace them with new parts. Get a spare parts kit, have them on hand. That way they can do those swaps and not wait until something drastic happens and then we have to go back out and redo the install, or have something that could have been prevented, basically.
Is that maintenance something that the customer handles, or something that our service team handles, technicians?
I think it would be both.
Mhm.
If it's a new customer, obviously they're not going to have that knowledge right then and there for a lot of the maintenance. But we're working on creating pamphlets of different, like a beginner's guide, I would say, for the maintenance, the critical components, so filters, quick blades that have to get replaced, having that information given to the maintenance department right then and there. That way they can look over it, and that's where the trainings would come into play. We'll go out, we'll train them on different sections, make sure they're comfortable on replacing more critical components, like maybe vibrator boards or feeder boards or ejector banks, which could be a little more hands-on and more mechanical.
Sounds like it's a collaborative effort,
Yeah.
that the customer's not expecting the service techs who install the equipment to be 100% responsible for the maintenance and upkeep and problem solving of their equipment, but that they're also taking ownership for their operator knowledge base and basic assessment of their equipment on a daily basis, keeping it clean and whatnot. So it sounds like it's a team effort.
Yeah. It really is, because like I said, we're not there on a daily basis. Their team is there. So if they're walking around, they can quickly detect if something's wrong, and they can either give us a call to confirm if it's something major or if they can go ahead and service it right then and there. A lot of the times we'll get calls that could have been prevented far down the road, and we're there as a last resort. Like, hey, it's an emergency. We had this happen. Like, okay, well, where's your maintenance logs? Like, this could have been prevented 2 months ago. These were the first signs of that something was wrong, and why wait until now? Like, it's just keeping that communication clear with them and letting them know that it's a joint effort. It's not us, the technicians, have to be there 100%. We'll answer all of their questions, give them all the training they need, but they also have to help us help them.
So it's interesting. It sounds like it's not really a plug and play type of situation. It's not just Legos that snap together and you turn it on and it works and that's it. It sounds like it's a time consuming process. It takes diligence. And it sounds like the customer needs to have the service technicians on a regular basis in their facility, right? You don't just leave them alone forever. You have to come back every so often on a regular basis to make sure that the equipment is optimized so that they have the best results they can get. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you like most about your job?
The amount of equipment that we work with, that it's not, you don't get stuck in that daily routine where you're doing one thing over and over. It's pretty diverse with the amount of things we can possibly do. One day we'll be working on a robot, another day on OK international equipment, another day on a sorter, and just meeting different people, making different friendships, and being able to explore California, running up and down the 99 and the 5, looking at different cities, different communities. It's all great. It's really enjoyable.
Do you find that the different areas of California you go to have different types of food?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your favorite spot?
Because the technicians are kind of on a go mode. Most of it has been fast food, but I do enjoy sitting down at a Mexican restaurant and enjoying some chilaquiles or some shrimp, some camarones a la diabla. And it's crazy how wherever you go, everybody has a certain way of making it. And so just getting the different tastes of the same dish essentially, but it's crazy. It's nice.
It's delicious.
Yep.
Well, Adrian, thank you so much for taking time to come sit with us and give us some of those really important details for what happens, really the nitty-gritty of the most important part of this big investment that these very smart business owners make to elevate their operations, to understand what to really expect. It's not just as easy as it might seem, but that it's worth being patient and waiting for.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on here.